a game review here that someone redeemed with points. But it does not say if you are black or white. Saren. I'm assuming you're black. You would like to know how to handle white's invasion and right around move 60. I think you did a very poor job trying. Okay. Try to remember that. Oh, this is wrong. It's already wrong. Okay, good for black already. Now approach the bottom side. Approach with support. This one you don't have support. Approach the side with support. This Shamari is bigger than this Shamari. This Shamari gives you influence facing your side. This Shamari gives you influence facing a neutral side. So usually that Shamari is better. Alright. Everyone has Shamaris. And now white's like, I'm gonna go in! So what do? Unsettle, make profit. This is pretty nice. I like this. Okay, you know how pros are making stuff complicated? And you know how we're not pros? But to be fair, I think white's the one making it complicated here. Nope, you gotta cut. You have to cut this. That's the only move. There. No, you can't do that. So, there. That seems pretty easy to, maybe here. Because doot. Yeah. That seems simple enough. Doot. Because pigs. Yeah. The simple move. Oh yeah, it's very good for black. This is a bad exchange. But you have to. The problem is this is really heavy on reading. White is making a very heavy reading thing, and if it gets lucky, then it's really good for him. But if he gets unlucky, it's really bad for him. So it's high risk, high reward. If you create a high reading plan when neither player can read, it's high risk, high reward. Not very reliable, though. A simpler way would be to do this. That way you just connect. He goes here. It's simple. When you don't know the answer, simplify it. Okay. First off, I think the simple variation was to go here. This is the simple. It is simple. What move was complicated? Okay, you know what? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this isn't simple. It's simple to me because I know this shape. I know a shape. And I'm like, oh, this gives me a MII to connect. All I'm doing is trying to connect. So for me, I was like, oh, simple. Connect. That's a simple way to do it. Right? But maybe if you don't know this shape or notice this shape, it's complicated. Okay. So there's a lot of stuff. This is the simplest answer, though. Just stay connected and cut them off. Connections and cuts. When you're trying to simplify it, you stay connected and then you cut him if you can. Right? But you stay connected. Your weakness first. Okay, that's the simple solution. And the reason I said this was simple isn't because the shape's simple, it's because it's the same idea. I'm just trying to connect. Okay? I'm just settling. Let him have all the problems. I just want defense. So maybe my variation isn't simple. But the concept is. The concept is just defense first. And here, you have to cut. You can't get cut like that. You can't let your opponent just cut through you. Yeah, when they do complicated crap, it's like, stop, brakes, defense first, because I don't know what I'm doing. And if I don't know what I'm doing, I might die, okay? Like, imagine Imagine you're driving down the interstate. When they play an unexpected move, imagine your hood pops up and blocks your windshield and you can't see. Okay? That has happened to my mother driving down the interstate before. That was pretty terrifying. Imagine that. What would you do? What would you do? You would immediately think about what you previously knew. Is there a car next to you behind you? You immediately look to your right, where the only place you can see is there a car next to you, and you get over, unless you're like driving in left lanes. Anyway, in America, where we drive on the right because we do everything wrong, you would get over and stop moving, and get on the shoulder and stop moving. You would take into account what information you do have, because the information in front of you is gone. Okay? You immediately slow down, get to the shoulder, and stop. Okay? Defense first. Safety first. Driving on the right is wrong? No, I have no idea if driving on the right or left is better or worse. Okay? It probably is irrelevant. I was mostly insulting our metric system. What is it? The metric versus something or whatever. Our measurement system? Yeah. Miles per hour instead of kilometers per hour. I have looked at the difference, and miles per hour is stupid. Okay? We're stupid. Kilometers per hour makes so much more sense. Like, don't get me wrong. I would be very annoyed if kilometers per hour started being the only thing, because I would have to, like, train myself to convert. But I want all the speed limit signs to show both miles per hour and kilometers per hour. That way, as an older person who's been trained one way, I can slowly learn the other. And I'll have that, relevance thing. Never mind, I'm getting off topic. Let's get back to the game. I need to get back to the game. Like, I don't want to be forced. I want to be educated. Okay, so you made a mistake. Whatever. Just settle. Yeah, just settle. Okay. You can probably cut here. I know I'm like, don't be complicated, but it's already complicated. So if we just defend, it feels very easy for white. Okay, what are we supposed to learn at single-digit Q? So we know basic defense. But at single-digit Q, we're supposed to learn counterattacking, which is utilize weakness to settle. Okay, so Ataris, and then maybe we can turn. Go and do this. That seems very nice, right? It's utilizing Aji to settle. It requires reading. There's no cheat way around it. Something like this, you have to read. Does it help you or does it not? If I Nobi, Atari, or Atari, or Atari, or Atari, or Nobi, or Nobi. Do you have a simple response for everything? Now, how do we read at this level? Well, what does the Clossi approach say on how to read? Sean's go there. Okay. Clossi approach. How do I read? How do I read? That's how to study. Beginners. Okay. That's how to attack. Okay, it's under general ideas. I thought I simplified this, but apparently I haven't. Here's how to read. 1, 2, 3 reading. That's what you need to learn at single-digit Q. And then you need to get better by dawn. To get to dawn, you have to do 1 to 5 reading. Okay? There are 2 ways to use this. If you play 1, and then your opponent plays 2, and then you play and you play 3 to counter it, try thinking if you play the 3rd move first, does that make it better or worse? and same with 1 to 5. Okay, playing the third move in a sequence or fifth move in a sequence in your head first. Try playing that move first, and sometimes it'll work. Okay, that's the first way to use it. The second way to use it is identify the options. 1, 2. This one's really Crosscut's really not a great example for this, but we'll just start with this. Okay, those are the options. Those are the responses. Okay, so let's just apply 1 to 3 reading. Okay, we're not going to do the third move first because that's just not possible. Thank you for the follow, Fabian. Welcome to the stream. Let me know if you have any questions. So, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, or 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Now, this is easy to read, right? It's easy enough. It takes time. It probably takes you a couple minutes. But it seems simple enough to read, right? So, we know that we can do that, but how do we take it and make it make sense? Okay, so first, 1, 2, 3. Is this good for white or bad for white? Probably bad for white. It's probably not that one. 1, 2, 3. Good for white or bad for white? Hard to say, so maybe that's an option. Maybe that's a contender. 1, 2, 3. Definitely bad for white. 1, 2, 3. That's a contender. 1, 2, 3. Bad for white, unless he wants to squeeze. 1, 2, 3. Bad for white, unless he wants to squeeze. 1, 2, 3. Bad for white. 1, 2, 3. Probably bad for white, unless he wants to squeeze. Okay, so if there's no squeeze plays, there's only 2 options. If he wants to resist. Otherwise, you just get a base. Okay? So 1 and 2. Those are the only options. Okay. Now, we've narrowed it down to those 2. Now let's go 1, 2, 3, and go 4, 5. So let's assume our opponent tries to resist. He has 2 options. 4. Okay, what's our response? Let's just go 5. Seems simple. And it still leads to a lot of possibilities. We can always sacrifice those 2 stones. So it leads to a lot of possibilities. 4. We can go 5 to connect, but that gives a Panuki, so maybe that's not good. Let's keep that shelved. 5. Still complicated, but very dangerous. So this one, 2, 3, 4, is a little scary. Okay? So that's probably the one White's going to choose. But what about here? 2, 3 leads to the same result. Okay? What about here? 4. So we can go down, we can turn. Okay? This is reading. I'm not doing 20, 30 moves down the road. Okay? I am doing 3 moves down the road, and then picking the good ones, and then going 5 moves down the road. How many moves did I just read in total? Okay. How many moves did I read in total? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, plus 10, 5 on each. So I read 22 moves. Okay? That is how you read. That is reading. From there, you look at the best ones, and you say, which ones are the likely results? Are you okay with them? If not, then go play the normal move. If you are, then try it. You read it out. It's okay. You can try. But this is how you read clever stuff. You have to come back and make the judgment call after you read. You have to say, this is what's going to happen. Like, one of these 2 options, or one of whatever. These are the options that are likely to happen. Am I okay with those options? Yes or no? Yes, do it. No, play the simple move. Okay, play your basics. But this is how you add on cleverness. Now, when you start learning this, it's going to be very, very slow. So I recommend playing with like 25 minutes while you practice this. And only practice it in the touching fights for now. Don't worry about the massive reading of non-touching battles. Just worry about the touching stuff. Just focus your reading on learning how to read touching fights. And you should only do this at 5Q plus, probably. Like, if you're about to be 5Q, or you're going above 5Q. That's how you learn how to read. Okay? Now, with that being said, you have to do it a lot. Okay? Go problems help with this, with your stone visualization. Go problems really help with stone visualization. That's why I say do go problems every single day, even if it's just 1 or 2. Because that way you visualize stones every single day. Stone visualization is very important. Because that way you notice liberties, you notice tsujis, you notice shapes and patterns. So you read 5 moves, then you notice a pattern. And from there you can say what the result is. Or you notice a certain shape. Like, for example, 1, 2, 3. You know that this stone can get captured to the wall. You just know that because it's a shape you recognize at this level. So you do that a lot. And you do go problems every day. And you practice that. Like every day for like a year. And eventually, you can read this in a few seconds. Like pros can read those variations in seconds. Probably 5 seconds or less. Maybe 10 seconds or less. A pro can read in a 10-second blitz game better than a Don can read in 2 minutes. 3 minutes. Okay? Accuracy and speed. That's why pros are so fast at reading. Okay? So I taught you how to read. Now I'm going to talk about reading efficiency. How do you get fast at it? Well, the first thing I would do is choose which ones are the ones that I'm going to look at first. The outside ones. So I'm going to look at this one, this one, this one, and this one first. And if I don't like any of those results, then I'll look at the inside ones. Or maybe I'll still look at the inside ones anyway, but I'm going to prioritize which ones I'll look at first. Maybe I'm in Byoyomi. I'm going to look at... If I'm in Byoyomi, I look at safety first. So I check the Nobis on the outside first. Okay, Nobi is the safe ones. You check the Nobis first. That way you can make it efficient. You check the safety first. Then you have extra time. Like maybe you do that in 5 to 10 seconds. You have another 10 seconds Byoyomi. So you choose the extra one. So you've already made the decision of which one's the safest. Now you look at the extra one, see if there's anything else you can do. If you can, cool, do that. If not, then just click the safe ones. You've already made a good decision. You've already spent your time. And you get really, really good at reading within 10 to 20 seconds because you're reading only 3 or 4 moves, 3 to 5 moves, and you can read 5 moves in just a couple seconds after you get good at it, after you practice it hundreds of times. You can read 5 moves in a couple seconds. From there, it's just prioritizing which ones you look at first. And then from there, it's making accurate judgment calls. And then from there, you read more when you have spare time. Like if you're in a tournament, I would read this stuff, but I'd probably read it 10 moves deep instead of just 5 moves deep. I would also consider tanukis. And then I might also count. Depending on the situation, I might count the results of each one. Count the territory changes of each one. Right? At a tournament, you just add on... The more time you have, the more layers you can add on. Yeah. Ideally, what I want you guys to practice doing, reading for longer than 2 minutes is usually unreasonable for an online game. If you're in a tournament, I would say reading longer than 5 minutes is probably too much. Unless it's like a life... I don't know. Just longer than 5 minutes is too much in a tournament. 5 minutes, you should be able to find an answer. Unless you have 2 hours, that's different. But if you have 45 minutes, 5 minutes for one move is the longest you should spend. On an online game, 2 minutes for one move is the longest you should spend. So, if you want to learn how to read, if you're single-digit Q and you want to learn how to read, you want to learn how to do this, my advice is start practicing doing this in 2 minutes, and then eventually speed up 3 to 5 moves deep to be within 30 seconds. Yeah, long think equals wrong think. The longer you spend on it, the more you'll overthink it. You just want to say, what is going to happen, which branch is the best. You want to be able to do this crosscut. If you want to learn how to read at a Dawn level, like a like a low to mid dawn level, probably mid dawn because low dawn's cheap. We have like shortcuts for reading, but if you want to read like a mid dawn, 10%. I don't know. It's just not a lot of percentage of your clock. Okay, if you do, you can overthink it. You can waste time. You'll read unnecessary things that's irrelevant. You'll easily get distracted, or you could get tunnel vision. All of these bad habits or bad things can come about from overthinking. Just simplify your thinking. Just read out the basic responses, and of course consider Tanuki. And then read out just 3 to 5 moves deep. 3 moves deep while you're learning it, and then 5 moves, and then get that 5-move reading down to within 30 seconds. If you can do that, you can read in a Byoyomi period. And then if you have to, if a life and death problem comes about, then you can sacrifice a Byoyomi period and have a minute, and you'll be able to read twice this amount for a life and death problem. That way you can add on, for example, let's say you read it, and then you count it, because you're considering sacrificing it. Or maybe you consider a ko, so you count all the ko threats. Like, you never know. You'll have all this extra time. Once you get faster at it, you have all this extra time to do other things. But you still want to have a reasonable amount of time left for the rest of the game, so you don't overcommit to one move. So something like this, this is basically how you read. Okay. This is the basics of reading. To reiterate my most important point. So 3 to 5 move reading is how you read, but to reiterate, when you're trying to read and you're considering like clever things, you read it out, and then you judge. You cannot skip the judgment step. You have to read and you have to say, does these best branches for my opponent, because he's going to pick the best branch or whatever, but you should also pick the best branch. So if both players pick the best branch, does this result accomplish my goal? What was my goal? It was defense. Does this accomplish my goal? Yes or no? If yes, then cool, you can be clever. If no, then just freaking play simple. It's okay. You don't have to be clever every single turn. You played simple like this. It's fine. It's whatever. This shape should be better because Tiger's Mouth is usually a shape point. There's potential Aji to cut here, but it's okay. It's not the big deal. You're not going to play perfectly. But I'm trying to teach you like how you can add on cleverness eventually. You're not going to have it right off the bat. This is one really hard thing to learn. But your single-digit Q, it's time to learn the hard stuff, right? Do this slow, okay? Do this slowly but surely. It'll probably take a year, maybe even 2 years before you get this reading trick down and make it fast. Like, where you can read this out in seconds. It's missing from almost every Q player's game, okay? This is why Dawn players can just do whatever they want, because we can read in 30 seconds. Like, a Dawn player usually has been playing Go for 2 to 3 years on a regular basis. So, unless you're really fast, if you're really fast, you can get Dawn in a year. But then maybe your reading isn't up to speed with the other Dawn players, but your basics are probably really good. So if you get like a Dawn that can read, like let's say their entire game is based on reading and they just don't know the basics, they can read in 30 seconds what you can read in like 5 to 10 minutes. And they're going to just have better accuracy, better speed. So the last thing you want to do is blitz a Dawn player, especially a fighting Dawn player. There's 2 types of Dawns, like low Dawns. There's the basics Dawn, which is what I am, mostly. I can still read. I have like 12 years of Go experience, so I can still read. But my main skill is basics. And then there's the opposite. There's the fighter Dawns. There's 2 types of low Dawns. To get to high Dawn, you have to combine them. At 5 Dawn, you have to combine both. And to get to 7 Dawn. That's what I've been informed. Is I have to learn how to read and stuff, and so I've been working on it. But there's 2 types of Dawns. A Dawn with a lot of years experience is probably going to have good reading accuracy, but not good reading speed. A Dawn that's a fighter Dawn is probably going to be able to read very accurately, very fast, and very powerfully to cut and kill you. But their basics are probably going to be terrible. Okay? What I want to teach you is to start reading now, but still focus on the basics. And then if you do that, when you get to 5 Dawn, maybe you can even go to 7 Dawn. Like, this is how you get past my level, okay? This is how you get stronger than me. You take my advice and you surpass me. You learn this stuff while mastering the basics as a single-digit Q, like 5Q plus. I do not recommend this for double-digit Qs. But if you start working on this now, and you don't have to be good at it, Just start considering it. Just start practicing it while learning the basics. When you're a Dawn player, you'll have experience reading, and then you can take it even further. You can become stronger than a low Dawn. So that's why I'm not really putting that much emphasis on this move. I just thought this was a really great learning opportunity. Is the difference between this move and your move is the difference between someone who can fight and someone who just plays basics. To be strong, you have to be able to do both. But basics first. This is fine. I'm happy with this move. It's maybe not the ideal shape. I probably prefer this one. It still threatens the cut. It's a lot easier. It's a lot more connected. Has a tiger's mouth. So basics-wise, that one's probably better. But I want you to be able to start developing cleverness. Yeah. Just start considering things, okay? It doesn't have to be great things. It doesn't have to be perfect things. But start considering attacking your opponent's weakness or using your opponent's weakness in some way to add value to your game. You don't have to do it. If you don't see anything, don't do it. Just play basic. But the basics should be so ingrained at this level. Like by 5Q, the basics should be so ingrained that you can kind of do it within a couple seconds. You already know the answer in a couple seconds. The basic idea within a couple seconds. So now you just want to use that extra time to, like, check some things. Just check. If something's there, cool. If not, whatever. How do you take your time and slow down more? If you want to slow down, the best thing to do is have some checklist. Like, for example, I have the Clossi approach. If you had that flowchart up, every single move. Do I have any weakness? Does my opponent have any weakness? Do I have... Where's the big move? Have some checklist. And then when you answer one of those questions, go into a sub-checklist. So, where's my weakness? Cutting points, base, connections. Connections, base, runaway, eye space, expand eye space, and vital point. Those are the sub-checklist. Okay? And for each of those, you can potentially make a sub-checklist as well. Connections, like, for connections. Can I sacrifice? Is it valuable? Is it part of the group? Okay? If yes, then of course fix the connection. So you just add on those checklists and add on those subcategories as you get stronger. So at the very start, 25Q to 20Q, I just tell them, start with those checklists. Yeah. Taking your hand off the mouse and just good habits. But if you want to know how to slow down, you don't just stop playing. You give yourself things to think about, things to consider, and you'll naturally take your time by answering those questions. So just check. For me, it's just checklist. If you want to simplify a game, checklist. Does my opponent have weakness? If he has cutting point, yeah. So when I'm here, so at Dawn we kind of have to combine the first two steps of the Clossi approach. This is kind of how you be clever, I guess. You combine my weakness and my opponent's weakness into one step. Where's the weakness on the board? And you always know the weakness. Okay? So it's not just where's my weakness, where's my opponent's weakness. It's where's everyone's weakness. To be like a Dawn player, you have to combine. To be a strong Dawn player, you have to combine both of those steps. That is how you increase cleverness. But it's still your weakness first. But at single digit Q, you learn how to counterattack. So in other words, you say, I'm going to handle my weakness first, but I'm going to try to handle it by utilizing your weakness to gain shape, or to gain connections, or to gain escape routes. That's how you be clever. That's how you counterattack. So you ended up doing my move anyway. But hopefully that makes sense. That's how to read, how to be clever, and how to be a Dawn in middle game. Here... This is, again, that cleverness. He's not alive in the corner. Yes, you can be cut, but you have 2 Tiger's Mouths on the inside, and still escape routes, and a potential capturing race. So it's worth reading. it's worth considering. It's worth trying to think, can I be clever here? This should immediately be here. This is my first instinct. Sorry, my first instinct is, can I just surround, right? I want to surround. But shape, right? So this move, in my eyes, immediately screams at me. Can I play a forcing move here? Bamboo joint, Hane, and surround. Yeah, you're too passive, but you haven't learned it yet. This is what you need to learn. This is why I'm showing it. So it's not like you're playing bad. It's that now it's time to level up. But you, as you said, I've mentioned before, you need to be more clever. So just add a little bit of power to your game, add some cleverness. Can I surround more directly? Heck, can you just play a capping move? If you can't just surround directly, then what about a capping move? If you want to play a Knight's move, this one's better. Because you want to push him to the right, so that way you can make 4th line territory while he runs away. 4th line territory is very big. This is clever. He's making sure that you're unsettled, so that way when he runs, he's also attacking. This is bad. Because this is a broken shape. Broken shapes lead to bad liberties, cutting points, and all kinds of bad juju. Peeps are bad unless they're good. If you want to keep up the attack, you really should be doing this. But you're not alive. Maybe you're fine. Maybe you're fine. Okay? Because he technically did fix you here. So technically you're connected here. So this is a real eye. You can almost immediately make a second eye. So maybe if you consider that group completely fine, this is okay. As long as you don't die, as long as this is alive, which it looks like it is, as long as you don't die, this is super good profit for you. Okay, so he dives in. So this is the move you're concerned about. Okay, step 1, unsettle. He's pretty much already unsettled, so step 2, surround. Even if he lives, it's okay. You'll get thickness and then get the bottom side. So, if you say I had 15 points here, you just need 15 points out of the influence. I would push him towards strength. But, okay. It's not the end of the world. He's already surrounded, so you go second line. Remember, it's kind of like the 3-3, how to kill the 3-3. When they're already surrounded, start taking the second line. Start taking the eye space. You're at step 3, not step 2. He's already surrounded. He can't escape without getting cut. Okay, so he ended up getting it. That's good. Wait, why are you sneaking? He's not alive. This is still not alive. Yes, you can Atari, and then go here. You just jump. Okay. But okay, fine. He's not alive. Or maybe you don't want to do it directly. Okay. So you say, I want to play here. Well, you have to make this exchange and this exchange, and then you play like right here or something. You do a leaning attack. So we say, okay, I'm going to make sure that there's no escape routes right here by gaining strength in this area. So heck, I'll go right here. You're going to waste the move living? Then I get 2 moves right here. Okay? That's another way to attack a not living group, is attack it indirectly. But you have to unsettle, so that way all your moves are sentient. So here, bad life and death. Yeah, life and death problems. If they're surrounded, so I think there's 2 problems here. There's 2 problems here. The first is you didn't recognize that he was surrounded. Okay, the first is you didn't recognize that he was surrounded. Once he's surrounded, it's life and death. It's not attack and defense, it's life and death. Big difference. The second thing is you didn't read the eyes. So I think if you do enough Go problems, you could probably solve that this is not alive. If you go for the kill, if you like in your head, don't actually do this, but in your head you go for the kill, how many eyes does he have? Just one. We clearly went for the kill. We saw that there was only one. So we do that in our head. We're like, okay, is this a good attack or bad attack? I don't know. Probably bad because he gets forcing moves and breaks out. Okay, so let's surround him in Sente and gain profit. How can we do that very effectively? It's just the next stage. It's the next stage. So the first thing is you have to recognize that he is surrounded. The second thing is you have to reduce the eye space in your head and check the vital points and notice, using your knife and death knowledge, using your Go problem knowledge, that he is not alive yet. He needs one more move. And once you notice that, then you take it to the next step of how can I profit. So either you make a decision. Am I going to go for the kill or am I going to go for profit? In this case, I chose going for profit, so I just surrounded Sente. Usually to this, you respawn once at least. Well, it's not just life and death. It's also recognizing when something is surrounded and that it becomes a life and death problem. You can have life and death basics all day long, but if you don't know the timing of when to check for it, it's really hard to apply it. So you have to have that acknowledgement that he's surrounded. Yeah, so it's a little... This cap's a little weird unless you're going to sacrifice and kill this group. Maybe just turn. I go to attack this group. But this group's like... this group's very attackable, but not very killable, so it's hard to sacrifice something for it. Yeah, way too passive here. This was your area in your control. And you're trying too hard to make it a false height. He's already alive and connected. Just play a big move. Okay. Yeah, so conclusions. I mean, we talked about several things. How to read, how to recognize that something, or just basically you should recognize something surrounded, and then how to recognize that it's a life and death problem, and then solve it in your head, and then make a decision, do you want to kill or do you want to profit? So, attack and defense basics, and how to read. Yeah, hopefully you found it helpful. Awesome. Yeah, I think we got a nice little chat about reading today. I should probably highlight that specific section on how to read, but I don't know if I remember this specific video is how to read.